whichever you prefer. Well, Shana Tova, everyone, and welcome. So it's been a year, and not the easiest year. And here we are beginning a new year, and still it feels like this may not be the year that any of us really anticipated. But we are still so incredibly grateful that we are able to be here in services in person with so many of you. And then, of course, we know that we have so many friends who are watching at home from the live stream, and we have just been delighted to hear from so many of you that you're going to be watching from the safety of your homes and in a place where you are feeling comfortable and connected. So we are glad to know that you're going to be there. There's a teaching in the Talmud, and it talks about the idea that in Mount Sinai, when God revealed the Torah, that all of us were there. And I mean all of us, like everyone who is in this room now, but also every Jew who would ever be born, every person who would ever choose to be a Jew, everyone who would choose to be a part of a Jewish community, that somehow every single one of us was there then. We were able to somehow transcend time and space to be able to get there. And so it seems to me that if that miracle could happen to us once, then maybe we can have something miraculous happen tonight. That somehow all of you who are at home and all of us here, that it can be like we are all at Mount Sinai together. That all of us are in the same place, but where we are is here. We are at Temple Israel. We are one community. So for all of you who are here in person and for all of you who are here watching virtually, we're so glad that you are at TI. Welcome home. This is home where I belong. In this breath, in this heart, this is home where I belong. In this voice, in this song, this is home where I belong. In this breath, in this heart, this is home where I belong. In this voice, in this song, this is home where I belong. In this breath, in this heart, this is home where I belong. In this voice, in this song.
We begin this evening on page 11. The first mitzvah in the Torah is let there be light. So we are commanded, in everything you do, be a menorah, a bringer of light. Live with honor, act with integrity, do your work with passion, and the radiance of your deeds will live after you. May our ideals burn bright, forever unextinguished, and may we live our lives like the flames we kindle, always stretching upward, striving for the good, reaching for you. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, lahadlik ner shel Yom Tov. Source of blessing, eternal our God, you fill the universe with majestic might, teaching us holiness through sacred obligations, giving us the mitzvah of bringing light on this festival. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'echianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Blessed is God, source of eternal blessing, eternal our God. You fill the universe with majestic might, giving us light, upholding the life within us, and bringing us to this time.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Yom Tov. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'echianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu el hazman hazeh.
We continue reading responsively on page 12. To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven.
This is the season of the soul, a time to rejoice, a time to reflect, a time to return.
A time to gather around the table with loved ones and friends. A time for song and silence, for prayer and confession to open the heart. A time to retreat to our sanctuaries within. A time to renew the life and spirit of our community.
This is the season of attentiveness, a time to notice what has unfolded and what has not, a time to regret, a time to forgive, a time to remember cherished dreams and high ideals erased by reality.
This is a season of hope, like mist rising at sunset, like dew descending at dawn. Our hopes beautify and nourish everything they touch. Our hopes make us partners in creation, pursuers of peace, people who aspire to a world of justice.
This is the season of awe. When our eyes behold it, may we feel blessed. When we turn toward each other, let us feel strength. When we seek the holy, may we find purpose. May we find courage. May we find love.
Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, our God and God of our ancestors, may we know your blessings in the year 5782. Eternal One, bless us and the whole house of Israel with renewed life, happiness and peace, comfort and courage, resilience and strength. May the words of our heart be acceptable to you. In the new year that stretches before us, we are forever grateful for the gift of life.
For our friends who are watching us at home, we know that because some of you may be in very different places, if you wish, we are inviting you to rise at this time. If you don't, we won't know. But I would at least ask everyone here to please rise on page 20 for the call to worship. Poem written by Devon Spire called The Shape of the Shofar. It goes like this. It is a wonder the shofar is shaped like the inside of an ear, because at the moment we are blasted with sound and our whole world becomes the ancient voice, longing, calling, demanding. We are meant to listen to whom is below noise. And there, underneath the usual commands and allegiances, is Torah, listening and weeping in all the invisible eternal ink. And so we turn now to our prayer that reminds us to always be listening, not just to the voice of the shofar, but the sacred words that remind us that when we say Shema, when we listen, we hear the ancient voice of our tradition, paving a way forward for us to move ahead. Please join us in Shema on page 26.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated. And we continue with the words of the Ve'ahavta on 28.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
There's a prayer that we say following the Ve'ahavta called Emet. Emet, which means truth. And we say Emet to remind us that even those times when we feel like we are doubting God, like we are doubting what sort of future is ahead of us, we still believe that there is truth and there is goodness in the world. And so we hear the words of Emet, bottom of 33.
Emet, 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 Emet. Emet אתה הוא ראשון, אתה הוא אחרון, ומבלעדיך. אמת אתה הוא ראשון, אתה הוא אחרון, ומבלעדיך. אין לנו מלך, אין לנו גואל, ומושיע, ומושיע. Emet ata urishon, ata uacharon, umipaladecha. Emet ata urishon, ata uacharon, umipaladecha.
Continue now on the bottom of page 33. You have stayed long enough in this place, God said. Time to go forward. Turn your face to the future. Believe that you can cross this sea and survive. Inside you is a Moses. Within you, Miriam dances, unafraid. Lift up your voice and sing a new song. We sing the song our ancestors sang with Moses and Miriam. Mi chamocha.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, norach tehilot osef eleh.
מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע יום לפני משה ומרים, זה ליאנו ואמרו,
Adonai imloch leolam va'ed.
Mi kamocha is the prayer that we say when we think about how grateful we are for the freedom that we have been given. But as I often say on Friday nights, we know that just because we are free does not always mean that we make the best decisions. And so we ask God that no matter what choices we or our neighbors or our community make, God, please spread a shelter of protection, a sukkah over all of us. So we follow the words of Mi Chamocha with Hashkivenu, let there be love.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Ashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Ashkivenu, Lishalom. Ashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Ashkivenu, Lishalom. Ve'hamidenu, Shomreinu lechaim, Ufros aleinu, Sukat shlomecha. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Ashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Ashkivenu,
We now approach the innermost part of the service, the part where, whether you know Hebrew or you don't, it's on you to go deep in your heart and think deep within your soul, what words can I conjure, either to myself or to offer before God? We join in tefillah on page 42. And I ask you, if you would, please rise.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Koneh Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'Nehem, L'Ma'an Shemo Ba'ahava.
וכותבנו בספר החיים.
למענך אלוהים חיים. מלך עוזר מושיע ומגן.
Please be seated. Elie Wiesel shared a story. He wrote, "One of the just people came to Sodom, determined to save its inhabitants from sin and punishment. Night and day he walked the streets and markets, preaching against greed and theft, falsehood and indifference. In the beginning, people listened and smiled ironically. Then they stopped listening. He no longer even amused them. The killers went on killing, the wise kept silent, as if there were no just people in their midst. One day, a child, moved by compassion for the unfortunate preacher, approached him with these words. 'Poor stranger, you shout, you expend your body and your soul. Don't you see that it's hopeless?' 'Yes, I see,' answered the tzaddik. 'Then why do you go on?' 'I'll tell you why,' he said. 'In the beginning, I thought I could change humankind. Today, I know I cannot. If I still shout today, if I scream, it is to prevent humankind from ultimately changing me.'" We recall his words knowing that we shout and scream, yes, but so too we pray and we sing, knowing that as long as we keep asking, working, praying for peace, that someday, perhaps, that peace will come.
We offer then a prayer for peace on page 66 with the words of Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, Al Yisrael Mechatasim Leolam. Shalom
On page 72. May the Eternal One who blesses all life bless and strengthen all of us who struggle against illness. May we whose lives are touched by illness be blessed with faith, courage, love, and caring. May we experience the support and sustenance of family, friends, companions, and community. May we be granted restful nights and days of comfort. We pray for refuah shalema, precious moments of healing, and a sense of wholeness in body and soul. May those who care for the sick with their hands, their voices, and their hearts be blessed with courage and stamina. May those who pursue healing through medical skill and knowledge be blessed with insight, patience, and compassion. May all of us, the sick and the well together, find courage and hope. And let us all say together, Amen.
Amen.
On Friday evenings, when we are together and we say the Misha Berach, usually we take time and put our hands across the room to give you an opportunity to say the name. Tonight, knowing that so much of our community is watching from home, we ask you just to say the names to yourselves of those people who could use our healing prayers. And so thinking of each of them and all who are in need of healing, we join together in the Misha Berach.
May the source of strength
We continue now on page 74. Take a step back from page 74.
Ose shalom b'romav, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Ose shalom b'romav, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Ose shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Ose shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen.
We now continue on page 74. Avinu Malkeinu. Strong was the faith of generations before us. In exile, they proclaimed enduring hope. In the shadow of persecution, they affirmed a transcendent love and compassion. Ours is a different age, less confident and certain, more tentative in its trust. There are many who say to the works of their hands, "You are our gods." But when our worship centers on our own creations, we feel less gratitude, more doubt and despair. This is the paradox of our spiritual lives. We grow smaller in self-exaltation, nobler when we reach for you. On this night of return, let us find the humility to come close to you and open ourselves to your presence. For you are absent only when we fail to make room for you in our hearts, distant only when we turn away from you. Now, as others have done before us, let us overcome doubt and speak these words of affirmation. We call you Avinu. As loving parent, forgive our wrongs and failings. Accept us in our human frailty. We call you Malkeinu. As sovereign of our souls, help us rise from the brokenness to build a world of shalom. To this vision, we offer ourselves anew. And I ask if you would all please rise as we open the ark. We join together. Please read the English, if you can, after I read the Hebrew. Avinu Malkeinu, ein lanu melech ele ata.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, you alone are our sovereign.
Avinu Malkeinu, lemancha rachem aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, for your sake, show us mercy.
Avinu Malkeinu, aseh imanu leman shemecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, act toward us as befits your name.
Avinu Malkeinu, shalach refuah shalema l'cholei amecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, bring healing and wholeness to the ill among us.
Avinu Malkeinu, kra ro'ah zar dinenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, allay the harshness of the decree against us.
Avinu Malkeinu, katvenu v'sefer ge'ula b'Yeshua.
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of redemption and renewal.
Avinu Malkeinu, zachrenu b'sichron tov lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, remember our goodness and call it to mind.
Avinu Malkeinu, aseh lemancha v'hoshienu.
Avinu Malkeinu, act for your sake and save us.
Avinu Malkeinu, shama kolenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and merciful, hear our voice.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu Lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol Aleinu Va'al Olaleinu V'tapinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and our families.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kale Dever V'cherev V'ra'av Me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu halts the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kale Kol Tsar U'mashtin Me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror.
Avinu Malkeinu, Katvenu B'Sefer Chaim Tovim.
Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names in the book of lives well lived.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chadesh Aleinu Shana Tova.
Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us a year of goodness.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chanenu Va'anenu, Ki ein banu ma'asim, Aseh imanu tzedakah v'chesed, v'hoshienu.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatzanu Lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol Aleinu, Ve'al Olaleinu, Ve'tapenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Kale Dever, V'cherev V'ra'av Me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Kale Kol Tsar U'mastin Me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Kotvenu B'Sefer Chaim Tovim. Avinu Malkeinu, Chodesh Aleinu, Chodesh Aleinu, Shana Tova. Avinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Harem, Harem, Keren Yisrael Amecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu ve'anenu, Ki ein banu ma'asim, Aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed v'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, מלכנו, חננו ועננו, כי אין בנו מעשים. עשה עמנו צדקה וחסד. עשה עמנו צדקה וחסד והושיענו. עשה עמנו צדקה וחסד. עשה עמנו צדקה וחסד והושיענו. אבינו מלכנו, אבינו מלכנו, אבינו מלכנו, חננו ועננו, כי אין בנו מעשים.
Please be seated.
Well, this is interesting. I think I'd like to begin this evening by addressing the elephant in the room. Well, I am delighted to see all of you who have come, and I'm thrilled that so many of you are joining us online. I got to be honest, I'm looking around. There's a lot of empty chairs in here. There's a lot of empty chairs in here, just as there have been for this difficult year gone by, and just as there probably will be for a while to come. Preaching and praying in a synagogue filled with empty chairs seems to have been a kind of a test of faith. I also imagine you all have some empty chairs at your tables this year. We've probably all seen the stadiums where inflatable or computer-generated fans were filling seats to encourage us to feel more normal. And we consider doing the same thing here at TI. I want to let you know that Rabbi Fader and I thought about turning your confirmation pictures into life-size cutouts. We also were going to mix in some celebrities as we had you seated there, maybe Drake over there, and Mandy Patinkin, and Barbra Streisand as well. That was a particular request from one of the clergy. I'm not telling you which one. But we didn't do that because this would have gone against our sacred traditions. I want to point out that as strange as it seems to be in a room with so many empty seats, that what you're seeing right now is intentional. We knew how many people would be here tonight, and we knew how many people would not. We filled this room with chairs on purpose. We knew they would be empty. Empty chairs remind us that we aren't through this yet, that things aren't completely back to normal. Empty chairs remind us that for each seat, there's a person sitting at home. We haven't forgotten about you, We thank God that you haven't forgotten about us. Most importantly, what I'd really like to speak more about tonight is how powerful the empty chair is as a symbol in Judaism. The empty chair is an eternal sign, actually, of hope. When you think of an empty chair, what's the first thing that comes to mind? So I asked this in our home and under our roof. I asked Rabbi Fader this question, and immediately she burst into Les Miserables.
Empty chairs and empty tables.
So we're going to leave Broadway out of this for tonight. And I would imagine that really obviously, when you see an empty chair, you think of emptiness and loss, that which isn't there. But many synagogues around the world have an intricately designed chair set aside in a special place that almost always remains empty. It's often embellished with wood carvings, Hebrew engravings in gold, and sometimes even jewels are actually affixed to the chair. This is because our tradition teaches us that all empty chairs belong to the prophet Elijah. Each year at the Passover Seder, we leave an empty seat and a glass of wine for Elijah. We also have a special empty seat for him at every baby naming. What is it about Elijah that makes him such an important part of our tradition? And why do we leave an empty seat for him? I got to thinking, and I did my research. It turns out that Elijah is a very complicated character. In Jewish texts, he's referred to as a scholar and a pauper, an outlaw and a messianic hero, and a funny-looking guy who wears clothes made out of hair. He caused rain to fall and resurrected the dead. He may have been the inventor of the bottomless cup. Jewish folklore teaches that if dogs are happy for no reason, it's because Elijah is in the neighborhood. I'm sorry, Louise. No cats. Why does Elijah get to be at so many important Jewish moments, sitting in the big empty chair? The story starts in the book of Kings. Elijah the prophet has been trying to tell the people of Israel how important it is to follow God's ways, warning them that if they don't, terrible things will happen to them. Now, some people do, and they do the right thing, and they follow God, but not everyone. Elijah gives it his all, but it doesn't go his way. He becomes cynical and distraught. He goes into hiding. God asks what he's doing. Elijah answers, I did my best, but no one follows God's ways. Everything is pointless. I give up. There is no good left for me to do. There's no good left in this world. Well, God is not happy with this answer and this complaint. Of course, the Israelites are not perfect. They struggled and rebelled and they failed, but they also turned and returned to God. They did things that were good in the eyes of God. But Elijah was not able to see this. Elijah could not remember the good that existed in this world. Therefore, the Talmud teaches us that God has commanded Elijah to go to every single baby naming for all time, where a Jewish child would get their Hebrew name, proving that there is hope and possibility and good left in the world. Unless you think this sounds like a punishment, it isn't. It's a transformation. Elijah becomes known as the guardian angel for children, there to protect them, even though all you can see is his empty chair. For those of you who have been to baby namings before, especially at Temple Israel, you may remember that Rabbi Feder and I always make a very big deal out of the chair that we're going to use, even though it's just one of our regular chairs that sometimes Rabbi Feder likes to have me move around on the Vima, maybe an extra minute or two, just to see if I can do it. When we do and we get it settled, we say out loud, as the Talmud teaches us, you have to speak these words, Zeh kiseh Eliyahu, Zachor Latov. This is the chair of Elijah. May he be remembered for the good. That chair gets infused with messianic potential. What was once, a seat, maybe even one of the blue seats in the back, becomes a throne of glory. A seat for Elijah to remember that there is good in the world. A seat for us to remember it too. And why on Passover does Elijah deserve his own chair and a cup of wine when he has yet to ever show up and stay long enough to try some delicious brisket? Why do we even bother to leave a place for him? Passover is the defining holiday and story of the Jewish people. It reminds us that we are forever connected to our past and that the generations before us also knew, really hard times. Maybe times as difficult as this, maybe worse. When the Israelites were demoralized, when they were at their very lowest, when plagues were everywhere, when they were trapped between the slavery of Egypt and certain death at the shores of the sea, they crossed over from slavery to freedom, from sorrow to joy, from mourning to a festival, from darkness to a great light. Good things can and do happen, even though we don't expect them to. The Passover Seder teaches us that one day the world will be a better place, that things really will become whole. Elijah is supposed to be the one to show up to tell us that the time has come, and that's why we leave an empty seat for him. We call Elijah to mind in the most important, significant times in our lives. And we remember him with an empty chair. When we name our children and feel both such fear and helplessness at the same time, and yet an unbridled hope for the future. When we sit at the Passover Seder and remember the story of a time when our people felt that all was lost, and instead they were saved. Elijah is present at each of these moments because he became cynical and he lost faith that things could get better, but God knew they would. And now we leave a chair open for Elijah to remind ourselves when we lose faith that things can get better. Zohar teaches us, the Jewish book of mystical teachings, that Elijah is actually in perpetual flight, forever flying above our heads, waiting to occupy an empty chair in a place where someone is doing something sacred or holy, remembering that there is blessing and hope still left. I know that when we look around this room, it's hard not to see these seats, even people we've lost, people who should be here. But I'll tell you something amazing. Well, we have had many losses over this past year, those seats that will forever remain empty. We've had a whole lot of gains too. This year there were many babies born and many names given. This year there were also a lot of weddings. This year we've gained new members of the community who have found their way to be with us, even though they've only seen us from the comfort of their own chairs at home. We've gained new members of the Jewish people as Rabbi Feder and I return to the mikveh again and again to renew the covenant that Elijah didn't even think was getting renewed, bringing in new members of the tribe. These seats are not empty. They're reserved. Each one of them is waiting for you out there. Each one of them is waiting to be filled when the time is right. Elijah reminds us that the empty chair does not symbolize sadness, but hope and the promise of good things to come, even when it's almost impossible to imagine. So tonight, and in the days to come, I'll be looking at these empty chairs, and I'll be thinking of all of you. May you find your way to return to us in person when it's safe to do so. But until then, your chair will be here waiting to welcome you home. Shana Tova.
We continue now on page 78. Lift this cup for the year that is gone, for mountaintop moments and the taste of joy, celebrations shared and celebrations missed, milestones met, all we've mastered and achieved since we last met. For wedding rings, tears, and kisses under the chuppah, new babies, first words, and first steps. For the children who bless our homes and bring life to our community. For b'nai mitzvah and confirmands, young teachers of this holy congregation, ours to cherish and guide with love. For beloved wives and husbands, sisters and brothers, for loyal friends who grow more precious with each passing year. For this community, which nourishes us all. For all we've learned, for all we've struggled through. For challenges surmounted and disappointments met with courage. For last moments shared with those we loved and lost. For parents and grandparents whose memories are with us forever, we lift this cup for the year that is gone and for the year that begins. May we meet it in strength, in unity, and hope. We lift life's cup and celebrate survival, so may we sanctify each day that is ours. Please rise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pari hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol am, v'romamanu mikol lashon, v'kidshanu b'mitzvotav. V'titen lanu Adonai Eloheinu ba'ahava et yom hazikaron hazeh, yom tru'ah, mikra kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim, Kivanu v'charta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim u'dvarcha emet v'kayam la'ad Baruch atah Adonai melech al kol ha'aretz mekadesh Yisrael v'yom zikaron. And on page 82, we continue with the words of the Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
And so, Adonai, our God, we look to you, hoping soon to behold the splendor of your power revealed, a world free of idolatry and false gods, a world growing more perfect through divine governance, a world in which all human beings make known your name, while those who do evil turn toward you.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום Shemo Echad.
On page 86, birth is a beginning and death a destination. But life is a journey from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness and often back again, from health to sickness and back we pray to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made this journey stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage made stage by stage, from birth to death to life everlasting. At this time, we think of those whose yahrzeit falls on this Rosh Hashanah or on this date. So too, we're thinking of Dr. Leila Zai, and our heart goes out to your family as well. We're thinking of the families of Eli Ableys, Nathan Altman, Jared Axelbaum, Frederick Cohen, Harry Cohen, Esther Mildred Corman, Herschel Frankel, Melville D. Friedman, Elsa Geiger Goldman, Hannah Greenberg, Lillian Karsh Hendon, Louis Hillel Horowitz, Belle Hurwitz, Manuel Lasky, Michael Stephen Lending, David S. Levinson, Max M. Liebrock, Ann Litt, Rachel Stix Michael, Bert Nackman, Lucille Newell, Enid Siegfried Offenbach, W.J. Bill Reichman, Saul Sachs, J. Michael Salinger, Lillian Tenenbaum Schirmer, Walter Sears, Sarah Singer, Norman Spetner, Moss Stern, May Tash Weiss, Rosa M. Wolfheim. So those names and the names we keep in our hearts, we turn to the words of the Mourner's Kaddish on page 90. Yitzgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, ba'alma divarach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayachon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'emuru amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah v'varach la'alam olmei almaya, Yitzbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shmei d'kudesha barichu, la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, da'amiran ba'alma v'emru amen. Yehei Shlama Rabbah min Shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'emru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'emru amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And together we say, amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'yimeru amen.
Please be seated. So before we turn to our final blessing and our closing song, just a few words of announcements. First of all, we're so grateful for everyone who is here, and thank you for keeping on your masks. I forgot to remind you, and you did it anyway, so we're very grateful for that. We also recognize this strangeness that this year on our High Holy Days, we are not having other participants up on the bima, which allows us to be unmasked so that you can hear us better and the people at home can feel like they are present with us. But so that just makes us all the more grateful for you for following the rules and keeping us all safe. As you leave the sanctuary tonight, I would just ask if you are in the front few rows, if you wouldn't mind just waiting a few moments and letting the people who are behind you leave so that they can exit to their cars first. You can use all of the exits that we have open here today, but we would ask that you do your best not to congregate in the halls. Tomorrow morning, Our main service is at 10 a.m. as usual, but if you have little ones, where did Jason go? All right, if you have little ones who want to come tomorrow, we have a Tot Shofar drive-through experience that will be at 8:30 a.m. So you will stay in your cars and drive through, and we'll give you treats, and you can wave to the rabbis and hear the shofar. And we also, one last reminder that every year Temple Israel takes on the challenge of collecting toiletries for the Jewish food pantry, and we are the only congregation in St. Louis who is given this task, so it's so important, even though so many of us are not here in person, that still, if you are watching from home, we hope that you will still take on this important mitzvah and bring your toiletries to TI in the next few weeks, and we will sort them on Yom Kippur.
On page 98. Our God and God of all generations before us, may it be your will in the coming year to grant us
a year of abundance and atonement,
a year of blessings bestowed and received,
a year of community and compassion,
a year of delight and exaltation,
a year of enlightenment,
a year of friendship and forgiveness,
a year of going up in gladness to the land of Israel,
a year of health and healing and humor,
a year of inner strength and well-being,
a year of joy and Jewish celebration,
a year of knowledge and learning for its own sake,
a year of love between parents and children, friends and spouses, brothers and sisters,
a year of mitzvot and moments of sweetness,
a year of nature protected and enjoyed,
a year of optimism and hope,
a year of peace pursued with perseverance,
a year of quiet and tranquility,
a year of rain in its season,
a year of song and spiritual growth,
a year of Torah study and tikkun olam,
a year of understanding and unity,
a year of vows fulfilled and violence overcome,
a year of wisdom acquired and shared,
a year of coexistence among the families of the earth,
a year of young and old reaching out to one another,
a year of Zion aglow with light for us and all the world.
Our God
and God of our ancestors,
grant us a year of gratitude to you for the most profound of blessings, your gift of life. So in this year, when so many things feel different, we felt like you probably needed an oldie but a goodie to conclude services this year. So please join us on page 95.
Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Komoshienu, Micheloheinu, Mikadonenu, Michemalkeinu, Michamoshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Malkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu.
Yehi ratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu shetechadesh aleinu shana tova u'metuka. Our God and God of our ancestors, eternal God of all generations, may your presence in our lives this new year renew our spirits and renew our strength. May it be a good year. May it be a sweet year. L'shana tova tikatevu v'techtemu. May you be inscribed and sealed for a good year. And we say together,
Amen. Shana Tova, everyone. We'll see
Shana
you
Tova.
tomorrow.